Hey guys, so since we took our Unit 1 test on Friday, today we are starting our new unit, Unit 2, which is all about solving equations, all different types. So today we're going to start with the easiest type, which is linear equations. Today should not be anything new for you guys. It should be really simple. So I'm going to try to move through this pretty fast. Okay, so solving multi-step equations, you're always going to follow these 5 steps no matter what. Okay, so first step is to distribute, if necessary, to remove any parentheses. So sometimes you won't need to, but if necessary, you should always distribute first. Next, you want to combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. So look at the left side, combine anything that can be combined, then look on the right side and combine those. Step 3 is to move the variable to one side. It doesn't matter which side you pick, as long as they're all on the same side. Add or subtract to remove the constant, and then multiply or divide to eliminate the coefficient. So those 5 steps every single time. So inside of the notes, there's 3 examples that we're going to look at. So just to keep everything balanced, I usually like to start with just a line where the equal sign is. Okay, and then I'll start. So first step is distribution. So I do have a set of parentheses here. So whatever's directly outside of it needs to get multiplied inside. So that would give me 12x minus 36. Now that 14 is not in parentheses, so we're just going to drop it down. And then the right side doesn't have any parentheses, so just dropping all of that down. Next step would be to combine like terms. On the left, those 2 terms are both constant, so we can put those together. So I'm going to bring down to 12x. But negative 36 plus 14 gives me negative 22. And other side stays the same. Okay, now we want to move the variable. Right now we have x's on both sides. So it doesn't matter which side you pick, but I usually get the one that's on the right side and move it over to the left. So we're going to do that by subtracting. That gives me 9x, and then I'm going to bring down my minus 22. On this side, that got eliminated, so I just have the 5. Next step is to add or subtract to move that constant. So in this case, we had to add. Gets eliminated, so now I have 9x equals, sorry, I was thinking ahead. So it's not 27, it's 22, which gives us 27 when we add. Okay, and then we divide by 9, which would give us x equals 3. Okay, next one, same process. This one's a little bit more difficult because there's fractions in it, but just know that you could always use a calculator for this stuff. So again, I'm going to start by doing a line where the equal sign is, just so I keep everything balanced. And I definitely see some parentheses, so we're going to have to distribute that fraction, 3/4, to both of those numbers. So this will be 3 over 4x plus, and then 3/4 times 8 is actually just 6. And then we're going to bring down the 1/2 x equals 1, because that's too far away. But now we're going to distribute this negative 1/2 to both things. So minus 1/2 x minus 2. Now we check to see if we can combine anything on the left. So on the left side, I have 2 terms that both have x's. So 3 over 4 plus 1/2. We need a common denominator, so you can think of that 1/2 as 2/4. So altogether, that would make 5 over 4 x. Bring down our 6 is equal to. Then on the right side, I have 2 constants that we can put together. 1 minus 2 would give me negative 1, and then we'll bring down that minus 1/2 x. Now we see that there's x's on both sides, and I'm going to move the one that's on the right, so the negative 1/2 x. I'm going to move it over to the left, and I'm going to do that by adding. 5/4 plus 1/2 would give me 7 over 4 x plus 6 equals negative 1, since this part goes away. 2 more steps. Let's subtract that constant. So subtract 6. And now I'll have 7 over 4x equals negative 7. And then last, it has that coefficient of 7 over 4. So instead of dividing by it, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, 4 over 7. And what I do to one side, I have to also do to the other. And that'll give me x is equal to negative 4. Okay, and then let's do that third one. So same as before, I'm going to do a line where the equal sign is at. And now, let's see if we can distribute. So I have parentheses, so I'm definitely going to distribute, but only what's right in front. So that 3x, we're going to bring it down, but this minus 2 needs to get distributed. So this will be minus 10 plus 2x equals, and then on the other side, same thing happens. The 4, we're just bringing it down, but the 7 needs to get distributed. So plus 14x plus 7. Okay, now let's check to see if we can combine any like terms. So on the left, I have 2 terms that have x's. 3 plus 2 is 5x. Still have minus 10 equals. And then on the other side, I have 2 terms that are both constant, so we're going to add those together. 4 plus 7 is 11, and I still have plus 14x. Okay, now x is on both sides, and we don't like that, so I'm going to get this one that's on the right side and move it over to the left. So we're going to do that by subtracting. 5 minus 14 is negative 9x. Bring down the minus 10. Now equals 11. Let's move that constant, so let's add 10 to both sides. So now I have negative 9x equals 21. And then now to get rid of that coefficient, we're going to divide. So I get x equals, it's actually still going to be a fraction, we're just going to simplify it, negative 7 over 3. And if you're not that great with fractions, you can put that into Inspire. It'll automatically simplify for you. Okay, so there's 3 examples of solving linear equations. These are multi-step. This is about as hard as a linear equation will ever get. Okay, but there's still something else that I wanted to show you. So every once in a while, one of these special solutions might pop up. So on the left side, there's a possibility that you'll get an equation that has no solution. This means that there is no value that will ever make the equation true. So an example would be if you go through all the steps of solving and you end up with something that's false. So something like 8 equals 9. Well, those are not the same number, so that's false. Or sometimes they'll try to trick you and do like 5 equals negative 5. So they're both 5, but one's positive, one's negative, so they're still not the same. So if a situation like that comes up, that means that that equation has no solution. The other special thing that comes up every once in a while is infinite solution. So that means that all real numbers will make the equation true. So any real number you can think of, if you plug it in, it's going to come out true. So fractions, decimals, negatives, positives, whatever. So the way you know it's this is if you go through all the steps of solving and you end up with a true statement. So something like 7 equals 7 or negative 13 equals negative 13. So if it's the same number on both sides, then it'll be all real numbers. Okay, so we have 3 examples of this, and believe it or not, these actually go kind of faster than before. Okay, so I would start the same. So I would do a line here. This 13x is too far away, but the 2 we can distribute. So that'll be plus 6x minus 10 equals. Then on the other side, we're going to distribute the 2. So that's 18x minus 10, and then plus x, just bring it down. Now we're going to combine like terms. On the left, I have two terms that have x's. 13 plus 6 is 19, x minus 10. And then on the other side, I also have two terms that have x's. So 18 plus 1 is 19x, and then bring down our minus 10. So already at this point, you should see that something weird is happening. But I'm going to continue. So I have x's on both sides. So this one on the right side, I want to move it over to the left. I'm going to do that by subtracting it, which I also have to do to the other side. But it just so happens that it cancels out on both sides and leaves me with negative 10 is equal to negative 10. Well, that's a true statement. I mean, they're the same number, so that's true. So our official answer for this equation is all real numbers. Any real number you can think of, if you were to plug it in, would make that equation true. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, so same issue. I'm going to put a line where the equal sign is at. And now let's distribute. So now I have 3x plus 3 equals, let's bring down the 8. Over here, there's nothing in front of that parentheses, so you can think of it as an invisible 1. So 1 times 3x is still 3x, and then 1 times 5 is still 5. Then we combine like terms if we can. So only on the right side do I see some like terms. So left side, I'm just going to bring it down. But on the right side, 8 plus 5 is 13. And then plus 3x, let's bring it down. Okay, so I see x's on both sides. So this one specifically on the right side, I'm going to move it over to the left. So let's do that by subtracting, and it'll cancel. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other, and it also cancels. And I'm left with 3 equals 13. Well, that's not true. Those are totally different numbers. So when you get a false statement, your official answer is that this equation has no solution. There's no number out there that will ever make that true. Okay, and then last one. I'm going to draw a line. Okay, and then let's start with some distribution. So 0.5 times 7 would give me 3.5 x. Then 0.5 times 4 would give me 2 is equal to, okay, so 0.25 times 8 is 2. And 0.25 times 14 is 3.5, so plus 3.5x. Okay, we have x's on both sides. So in order to fix that, let's subtract it from the right, which cancels. But we have to do the same thing to the left, and it also cancels, and I'm left with 2 equals 2. So since they're the same number, that means that's a true statement. And the official answer is that this equation will work with all real numbers. Okay, so those are special solutions. Either it's infinite solutions or no solution at all. These hardly ever come up, but I just wanted you to be prepared in case you do see it. You wouldn't be confused. Most of the time, it'll be like this top area where you have a solution. Okay, so these notes are already posted in Schoology. You'll see a link that says Unit 2 Notes. So if I was going a little bit fast, you can go and copy them from there. And there's also an assignment on Schoology that I need you guys to do. All right, and just let me know if you have any questions.